Uh, Carol, one of the pleasures of reading this book is the rich narrative going through so many of the modern presidencies, seen through the prism of the Secret Service. Visceral for me, because I remember this as a boy of 13, was the assassination of President Kennedy. You have the most vivid, graphic description I've ever read of what happened in that limousine in Dallas. Uh, you also disclosed something that I just hadn't been aware of, which is that some of the Secret Service detail had been out drinking the night before with a journalist to boot at a kind of sleazy nightclub called the Cellar. I want to ask you to describe that and also your feeling about whether hangovers or just fatigue after that night out with the boys carousing may have been a factor in this tragedy of President Kennedy's assassination.
Thank you for the description of that narrative. I found it, sort of spine tingling and chilling to hear agents, many of them in their 80s and 90s, who served at the shoulder of President Kennedy, recount for me their experiences, and I'm grateful to them. Uh, they revealed a lot about their own impressions that day, but also just the crippling guilt that they and their colleagues carried for years, because they feel that they failed that day. A group of agents, no fewer than 9, according to the Warren Commission, had gone out the night before they were supposed to sort of shepherd the president on his motorcade through Dallas to this place called the Cellar. I mean, these guys work nonstop and they were run ragged by John F. Kennedy. Many of them were leapfrogging from city to city in their own homes just long enough to pick up clean laundry from their wives in a new suitcase and head back out on the road. Kennedy was a jet setter like no other president before him, and they knew they were exhausted and they knew they couldn't keep up. However, that night, they also needed to get out and blow off some steam, and they stayed up late having a drink or 3 or 4, and some of them got home around 2 a.m. One of them got home at 5 a.m. to their hotel room. So the Warren Commission investigation, and Earl Warren probably puts this the best, the Supreme Court Chief Justice that Lyndon Johnson put in charge of the investigation of Kennedy's assassination. He said, "There is no person who can tell me that a Secret Service agent out until 5 o'clock in the morning, even having just a few drinks, is going to have the hair trigger reflexes necessary on such an important assignment as protecting the president on the next morning." In their defense, Secret Service Director Rowley, Jim Rowley, who insisted that these people not wear a hair shirt of being responsible for a president's death, said over and over again to the commission and to Justice Warren that he did not believe that drinking or that late night was the reason Kennedy had been killed. He did believe a lack of training in split-second reactions was a factor. And, one of the sort of heroic tales of the book is Director Rowley. Today, you and I know, David, that somebody who loses a president would lose their job. Director Rowley, who actually has an interesting family link to our current Secretary of State, he insisted on staying, rebuilding that agency, hiring another 280 people, which he'd been asking for before Kennedy was killed, and reinvigorating the training so that that split-second reaction would be instantaneous, reflexive, and there would be no pausing to look back over their shoulder at the sound of a gunshot in an open plaza.